Interrompemos esse podcast para perguntar: quem você quer ser?
Designer, engenheira, pedagoga,
administrador.
Quer saber? O Senac EAD é nota máxima no MEC. Tem cursos de diversas áreas, com conteúdo elaborado por especialistas do mercado e professores mestres e doutores. Ainda tem o Senac Carreiras, conectando estudantes a vagas de emprego em todo o país. Saiba mais em ead.senac.br/graduação.
Hello, fellow gamers! Welcome back to the Video Gamers Podcast. We are dads who love gaming, and today is a very special Hijack a Host episode. We are going to be revealing what game we will be deep diving next, along with what host will have to play it. Please make sure to rate our show 5 stars and leave a written review in Apple Podcast. And if you have not yet joined our free Discord, you are absolutely missing out. You can join with a link in the episode description. We've got a family-friendly server with an amazing community. Come check it out. Come discuss gaming, news, connect with other gamers, all kinds of great stuff. I am your host, Paul, and joining me, I can't give away too many hints quite yet, but I know he's a fan of third-person shooters. It's Josh.
Oh, I am a fan of third-person shooters.
Up to your ears lately in third-person shooting.
Don't threaten me with a good time, Paul.
That's why I made this your intro.
I was like the way this episode is starting already.
Yeah, I was like, if Josh is getting picked, I know this is his genre, right up the middle.
All fears are gone instantly. Okay.
And then joining Josh and me, I'm pretty sure that he likes rocket launchers, assault rifles, and proximity mines. It's Ryan.
Rocket launchers, proximity mines, and assault rifles? Oh my.
That almost sounds a little like GoldenEye. I feel like those are some pretty common GoldenEye weapons right there.
Yep.
All right. Well, before we get into our Hijack a Host format here, we do have a couple of new Patreon supporters that we want to give a shout out to. We have both Zobi and Top Lobster who signed up with Rare Status. Thank you so much to both of you for the support.
Yeah,
thank you to you both. Listen, I mean, we say this all the time. I know we have people that have been supporting the show for a very long time. It is not forgotten. It is always appreciated. The reason that we are still here years later and, still continuing to just climb the podcast charts and kind of, honestly sit kind of near the top of the gaming podcast world when we're going up against the likes of like IGN, Game Informer, like the official Xbox podcast, all these things. We're here because of the listeners and because of the people that take time out of their day to say, you know what, let me go support these guys. Let me go to multiplayersquad.com. Let me sign up. Let me throw them a tip. Let me tell my friends. Let me leave a review. Like there's all these different ways that people actually help the show. And it's not lost on us. We really do appreciate it. We talk together all the time when like a new review comes in or somebody new joins the Discord server and it like joins the community, and we're always blown away by that. So I thank you from all of us to everybody that helps this show happen, because it really does mean the world to us.
Yep. Second that. It's a really cool thing to see, not only everybody that's been longtime listeners, but to see the community grow. One of my favorite things is just hopping on. I start pretty much every day hopping into our Discord and just saying good morning to everybody. Everybody else does the same. And then we just all talk about games and life and everything else. So really cool, awesome community. And it's just, it's been a cool thing to be a part of for the last year or so.
I will say I'm slightly disappointed, Ryan. I thought for sure you were going to sing Top Lobster. Like rock lobster.
But it wasn't a rock. It was a rock lobster! Rock lobster! Rock lobster!
There it is.
That comes to my mind every single time, because I saw them then hop into the Discord and right away, Top Lobster came into my brain. So really good game takes, by the way. I think it was Cyberpunk, Red Dead, and then I think God of War. Skyrim, that's what it was. Yeah, yep. I was like, you're going to fit in fine.
Well, not only that, same with Zobi, however they pronounce it. They listed some of their favorites with Fallout 4, Outer Worlds, Rocket League.
Yep.
So, yeah, we've got so many gamers in the Discord. It's so cool to see. All right. And then talking about our Patreon support, that ties right into this Hijack a Host episode. Josh, why don't you tell people about today's sponsor of this episode?
Well, the sponsor of this episode is the one and only Jigglepuf. Jigglepuf came into our lives long ago, has been an awesome member of the community. Honestly, we really love having you around, Jigglepuf. Love how active you are. Love your passion for games. You're always willing to help people. So it's, again, definitely noticed by us. But Jigglepuf one day said, you know what, let me get even cooler, and went legendary on Patreon. And that gives you the option to hijack a host to make one of us play a game of your choice. And Jigglepuf reached out to Paul, which I'm a little sad because, you know, they didn't reach out to me, but that means that Ryan and I are up for nomination on this one. Paul has all the power on this episode because Jigglepuf has reached out to Paul, told Paul which host that they wanted to pick and which game that they chose for that host. Ryan and I know absolutely nothing. These episodes are always a ton of fun because we legitimately are finding out as the listeners find out. But yeah, all this is because Jigglepuf decided to go legendary and support the show.
And not only that, poor Jigglepuf let me know what the pick was all the way back in April, because we had like a bunch of legendaries in a row, but then we had a couple of like must play games like Hellblade 2 and X Defiant and stuff like that. So we are finally getting around to it. So thank you, Jigglepuf, not just for the support, but for your patience as we finally get to cover your game. All right. So let's start out a little bit with why Jigglepuf picked this game. They said that this is the game that got them into open world games and chasing completionist achievements. So I know this is a little bit of a side path here, but how do you guys feel about the prospect of this being an open world game, and do you care much about achievement hunting?
Ooh, I like open world. I am not a trophy hunter. I'm not. Certain ones are cool if it's hard to get, but you can get it throughout gameplay. I got a buddy that is just, he wants to platy everything, and he'll sit and spend hours and hours doing one single thing to try to get this one achievement. Usually I'm not, but I mean, if it's fun gameplay to try to get it, then heck yeah.
Yeah. So
have you ever gone after an achievement, Josh?
Never in my life.
Never once.
Never. It just doesn't interest me at all. I get it. I get why people like doing it. Like, it's like, hey, I've done everything that this game offers, you know? And so it's like, there's a part of my brain that can comprehend that thinking, but people know me, man. I'm lucky if I can stick with the game long enough to actually finish the game. The idea of like going out of my way to try to like get an achievement or a trophy or something is just like, it's like a foreign language to me.
Does not compute.
Yeah, it just really doesn't. And not like, and again, it's a me thing. It's not that I think it's dumb or anything, because again, I see why people really enjoy that. But as far as achievements go, I don't put any stock into trying to do those at all. Like, it's just not in my DNA. I do like open world games, like legitimately, and we've said this a lot on the show. Not every game needs to be open world, but if a game is open world and is done right, it really can enhance like the game and the ability to just say, you know what, let me go over there and see what's going on over there. It's nice to get off the rails sometimes. It's just, you know, the open world has been kind of overdone and not always well done, and so it can be a detriment if it's not done properly.
Totally agree. And for me, the achievement hunting rarely is something that calls to me, but when it does, it's open world games. Like when I play Dragon Age Inquisition or I play Cyberpunk and I see all these decals on the map, and if I go knock one out, that decal disappears, and if I do all of them, I get that achievement. I get it. Like that gives me a little bit of that like adrenaline rush and endorphins, and I get it. So I think this game kind of plays into that, where you're going to see things on the map and you might feel a desire or a want to go over there, clear out this part of the map as we kind of talk about it more. All right. So this game is a little bit older. It released in 2009 for the PS3 and Xbox 360. It came out later that year on PC. So funny enough, I'm sure you guys remember Alex's pick of Toontown Rewritten was by far our oldest game ever. Well, we now have our second oldest game ever with this game being from 2009. It is older than Halo Reach. So this is now going to be our second oldest game. And I have a couple of stats about when it came out. So if you were curious to know, the top song, according to Billboard, was Boom Boom Pow by the Black Eyed Peas. And the number one movie in the box office was Up. And to give you a little bit of a timestamp, it is a great movie.
Oh, don't make me cry.
I know.
Go watch the first 10 minutes again. And some other games that came out in 2009 include Uncharted 2, Borderlands 1, Left 4 Dead 2, Dragon Age Origins, and Resident Evil 5.
Okay.
So are you guys nervous at all with the fact that it's a little bit of an older game?
I don't know, Ryan, you just got done playing Toontown, which was 20 years old. Did that scare you off of older games at all?
The fact that I've heard that it's open world and third person, like that alleviates a lot of anxiety for me right now.
Yeah.
That's something I can definitely live with.
This is funny to me because I was literally just talking about this earlier in our Discord server about how hard games used to be, and it was OG Gamer Girl in our Discord server, and she was saying like, hey, she used to play Planescape Torment, if I remember right, was the game people were talking about, and saying, hey, that game's really hard. And it's like, I mean, I'm an old school gamer. These hard games are what I grew up with, which I think is why I like games that have difficulty now. You know, so but then there's a part of me that goes, anytime an older game is brought up, it's a risk, right?
Yeah.
Like Torchlight, for instance. Nate picked Torchlight for me to play, and it was like Torchlight was fun. It was fine, but you could definitely tell it was dated. Dwarf picked SpongeBob for me to play, and SpongeBob held up phenomenally, in my opinion. You know, Ryan got picked to play Toontown, which is 20 years old, and it was kind of like, dude, this doesn't really hold up that much anymore. So it is a gamble. I think that you have to either look at, does the gameplay, is it good enough that it translates to modern gaming, or is there a nostalgia factor that you're hoping is going to kick in for people? Mm-hmm. An open world in 2009, I feel like, was when open worlds really started to kind of come into play. I mean, Witcher 3 came out in 2015. So this is like 6 years before that. So this sounds like it's almost at like the beginning of the wave of like the whole open world trend, you know, and I don't know, maybe it caught that wave and it's done really well, but if it's that early, maybe not. I don't know.
I think it's definitely in the crosshairs of when open world had its heyday. Because you've obviously got stuff like World of Warcraft and some of the Elder Scrolls games that are older, but it's before everything got so saturated where, like, we have an open world Crazy Taxi game coming out. Like, do we really need an open world Crazy Taxi?
I know, that's the part.
I don't know. But the fact that it's 2009 and open world, I actually think is kind of a good thing. What's even funnier is that this game was remastered, and when you buy it in Steam, you actually get a copy of the original and the remaster. And so I actually asked Jigglepuf, like, which one is better, and they said that both are fine, but they actually prefer the OG with the older graphics because the physics feel a little bit better. But you can technically play the remaster or the old one. The graphics are definitely an improvement, but from what I could tell in my limited time playing for a couple hours, it still looks relatively old, but I would say the game actually plays pretty smoothly. I wouldn't be too worried about graphics, I guess is what I'm trying to say. All right, so actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and take a short break, and then we'll come back and talk about some of the critical reviews.
Aqui é o Tigre Tony, de Sucrilhos. Cheguei aqui no meio do seu podcast pra te falar que existem coisas mais importantes que ganhar ou perder. Dar o seu melhor. E assim você mexe nos seus placares pessoais, que são diferentes daqueles que marcam se seu time ganhou ou perdeu. Os seus placares marcam cada objetivo que você superou. Conte com a energia de Sucrilhos pra bater todas as suas metas. E mostre sua garra. Sucrilhos, desperte o tigre em você.
Uma pausa no seu podcast para falar sobre a beleza, essa força poderosa que nos move. No Grupo L'Oréal, nós criamos a beleza com sustentabilidade. Utilizamos em nossas embalagens 85% de plástico PET de origem reciclada. 65% dos ingredientes vieram de base biológica ou derivados de minerais abundantes. Grupo L'Oréal. Nós criamos a beleza que move o mundo.
All right, so now that we are back, the OG game, or the OG version of this game, was pretty well received by critics. It's got an 85 on Metacritic for the console version, and 88% of critical reviews were positive and none were negative. So by and large, critics did like this game, and I have some snippets from 3 reviews for you guys. Gaming Nexus gave it a 9.5 out of 10. They said it is a fantastic game that sucks you in and doesn't let you go. It is a seamless merger of technology and storytelling that raises the bar for the industry. I mean, those are some pretty big words.
Open world storytelling that raised the bar?
And it's a merger of technology, which is kind of funny because now you're going to be playing an older game, but it was seen as like kind of like frontline tech at the time, which is kind of interesting. So official Xbox Magazine has the lowest score for it, which is a mixed review at 7 out of 10. They said it is not a glorious revolution, yet neither is it a wafer-thin facade of the sandbox genre. Its foundation is strong, it's fun in a mindless way, and its design intrigued us, but it's ultimately not something that has been built to last. So that's as negative as it gets, is that it's still mindless fun, is like the worst thing anyone said.
Kind of like First Descendant, you know, or something.
Yeah, exactly. And then the last review here is from Worth Playing. They gave it a 9.3 out of 10. And they said, this game may not have the name recognition of Halo or Call of Duty, but it has enough depth of play to hold its own against any contender. That's some high praise, guys.
Yeah,
you're mentioning Halo and Call of Duty in the same vein as this game.
Yes.
You better live up to that. You know what I mean? Like those are big words, man.
I assume after hearing all of that, neither of you are terribly worried that you're going to get picked. Like, this is such high praise. I feel like either of you would be fine if you get picked, right?
Yeah.
It's one of those, no matter what the game is, it's most likely going to be a good time, even if it's older. So, I mean, you can even hop into some of these older shooters like old Halos or everything. Obviously, those are some of the best ever made, but you can still hop into them and have a good time.
Absolutely. All right, so let's get a few hints here so that way we can share the name of the game. This is part of a series. The first game in the series came out in 2001. And in this game series, you fight on behalf of working people against world oppressors. The first 2 games are actually traditional first-person shooters, but in this third game, they actually switched it to be third-person, and it's the first one to have open-world mechanics. And the developer of this game actually was sold off as part of a bankruptcy, so they were underneath THQ, but then when it went bankrupt, their assets got sold off, so they are no longer around. But this developer did make some other games that I would say are definitely classics. Ryan, I don't know if you played this. I know Josh did, but they made Descent 1 and 2.
Oh, okay. No, I don't recall playing those, but I know of them.
Yes, very, very popular games. They also made the original Saints Row.
Ooh.
So there's definitely some pedigree here that they've made some good stuff. All right. Now, yeah, go ahead.
I'm just saying, my brain's really trying to like zone in on this right now.
Yeah, figure out
like
what it might be.
Clues, and then I started going down one route, and then I think I switched paths. You know, as you started talking about like THQ and the makers of Descent and Saints Row. So now I think I have another idea, but we'll see where it goes.
Talk about polar different games too, by the way. Like Descent, a 360 degree like space flyer, and Saints Row, like a goofy GTA parody. All right, couple of serious hints now. This game does not take place on Earth, and you can equip 4 weapons, but no matter what, you always have a sledgehammer with you. Do you guys have any guesses to what it might be?
I was initially going like Prey. Like that route, but I don't think Prey's not an open world from what I remember. So that's when I was like, nope, it's not that. And then I started going like, I think this is, there's all these games that I never played, right? There was the like Infamous games where you have the tentacle things you spawn out. And then
Love
what was
Infamous.
the game what's that series that you always mention where the guy winds up like becoming the president, going to space and fighting the aliens? And
Oh, that's Saints Row.
is that Saints Row? Okay, so then there was like the open world like Saints Row type thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, aren't they like a lot of these games are kind of similar to each other? So that's like the only guess I have is like, it's not going to be Saints Row, obviously, but like maybe Infamous or another game like that.
Good guesses. They are all incorrect.
Yeah. Ryan,
You got any guesses you
make
want to
me
share?
look smarter, Ryan. Make a really bad guess.
Well, I have a pretty good idea. I think I know what it is, but I kind of cheated, so I don't want to make a guess.
Oh no, how'd you cheat?
Well, I just I
typed in everything Paul said into
Descent
Google and it
developer.
came up with this game.
2009.
I was just thinking 2009 shooters. After I had a few guesses, and then it gave a big list, and then I think I know what it is from that list. But
All right.
I
Well,
don't know.
Ryan probably knows, but let me drop the last couple hints.
I didn't
Josh,
know cheating
I will-
was allowed. What
Hey,
is
I'm
this?
not
impatient.
allowed.
Okay.
It's not allowed. All right. I will say, Josh, even if you don't know this by name, I do think you know the game, or once you see footage, it'll, shake the spider webs off. The game takes place on Mars. You are working to overthrow the Earth Defense Force, or the EDF. And it's largely by destroying their buildings and structures. As you do destroy buildings, they drop salvage, which is this game's currency. It is probably best known for the game's physics. Does that bring anything to mind, Josh, or all blanks?
Earth Defense Force I've heard of. I started thinking of like Destroy All Martians. Because that was a game for a while, but I don't think you were on Mars. I think that was them on Earth. Martians. Is it red? It's a red alert. Red something.
Red alert.
Red alert.
Red something.
You're warmer. Ryan,
I bet it has something to do with Mars in the name, or red in the name, or something like that.
Red Faction Gorilla.
Red Dawn.
Red Faction Gorilla it is.
Yeah.
Okay, I've never heard
Great
this
job,
game.
Ryan. You did such a great job
Wow,
figuring
Ryan,
that one
you're a
out.
genius.
Well, the list had like 13 games, and that's the one that I thought it was. I
Red
didn't totally
Faction
cheat.
Gorilla?
Red Faction Gorilla.
I
Yep.
feel like I've heard of Red Faction.
Mm-hmm.
But is
Gorilla is just
like
the name of the third entry.
Okay. I have heard of Red Faction. I had never heard of Red Faction Gorilla. So I was like, my brain was putting it all together in like one thing, which is what threw me off. Red Faction I have absolutely heard of. I don't know that I've seen a lick of gameplay of a Red Faction game, to be honest with you. I always thought that was like against Russia. I didn't know it was against
like
Mars.
the hand looks like the sickle. Yeah.
Yeah. When you watch some gameplay footage of this, Josh, I think you're going to realize, oh, I did hear about this game at some point. So I played a little bit. I'm not even sure how many hours I've played. I did have to set my Steam to private here over the last couple weeks because I didn't want you guys to see what I had been playing. But I did put in a few hours worth. And I would say that the story is very minimal, at least in the early beginning. It kind of reminds me of like a throwback PS2 game where it's like, hey, here's a shortcut scene. Here's what we're doing. Let's get in the action. And the game kind of just quickly throws you in there, which I actually really like. You don't need 3 hours of setup like in The Witcher 3 before you're doing anything. So basically, there's a minimal plot. You jump into the missions. Don't expect any kind of Witcher 3 storytelling here. But basically, you have these different areas on the map, and you see where the EDF forces are. You're going to run out. You're going to do a whole bunch of missions for them. And your goal is to liberate each area by completely decimating the EDF forces there. And then you're going to move on to the next area. So for our listeners who have maybe played this game a lot, I fully liberated the opening area of Parker, and then that's when I stopped. So I got to see like a good sample of the game, but I didn't want to play too much too early before we start recording. So that's kind of like where I stopped. So do you guys have any like questions about the game or any comments? Like, what are you thinking at this point?
I'm watching gameplay right now, and this game looks pretty good.
Yeah, what are you seeing, Josh? Like, what kind
I'm
of stuff?
watching this guy piloting some weird like loader mech thing and just traipsing into some base and laying havoc. There's all kinds of vehicles. Dude has a rocket launcher and is taking down silos.
Oh, he just ramped over a canal.
Yeah, jumped some big canal in this car that he was in. Like, This game looks pretty fun. I'm not gonna lie. And I was a little bit worried about the date on it, but apparently there's a remastered version, like you said, Paul. So it's remastered.
Remastered because it's on Mars.
Please, let's stop with the terrible remastered puns there.
It's the worst name I've ever.
It is
rehydrated.
Yeah, I know.
Rehydrated makes sense for SpongeBob. Remastered is a little too much of a stretch.
But like, this doesn't look that dated. Like graphically speaking, I mean, you can tell it's old, but it's not like this is a game from like 1997 or something either. So
no. Yeah, it looks like almost
this
like
looks like dumb fun to me,
like Half-Life 2 kind of ish graphics, kind of. But it definitely looks cool.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah, explosions, vehicles, guns.
Now we're talking, baby.
Mars. What's not to like about this so far?
Totally agree. I will say I've enjoyed my time so far. Couple things about the game that you might enjoy hearing about. There are vehicles you can ride. There was actually a really exciting mission where I had to run over antenna towers, but the whole time I'm getting rammed by the EDF. And so I'm trying to like evade them while knocking out all the antennas before my vehicle gets destroyed. Like there's stuff like that that's pretty thrilling, like action sequences. There's mission types like escorting hostages out of buildings. Sometimes you just have to make certain buildings fall and get destroyed. So there's all kinds of different mission types. Sometimes you get to just set traps and then kill all the EDF forces when they come to you. So you have all these mines and you can kind of like place them strategically. So that way when their vehicles go, you'll blast something and then maybe like debris falls on top of them or to like choke off where they can go. So there's actually a lot of open variety in how you can do these missions. And that's where I think the open world stuff shines. Like, are you going to go in through the front door or are you just going to take your sledgehammer and start bashing away at the side fence and try to get over that way? There's a lot you can do in this game, and I think you guys are going to dig it.
That's really cool. I love when games give you the option to beat areas or levels how you want to. You can be a little more creative, or you can use the environment as part of a weapon, you know. So when they factor that in, I always love that when you can, like you said, make stuff fall on people. All I know is I'm going to be the Marster of destruction.
No. Maybe, Ryan, it might be me.
I'm going to play too. This looks too fun.
Well, the good news is I bought my Steam key for $1.69, and that comes with the original and remastered. So you're going to get both for very cheap.
Every time he says it, I'm like, what?
Oh, no, we're saying it every time. If that's what they name it, I'm calling it that.
Remastered it is.
Remastered it is. Yep. So yeah, $1.69, hard to beat that price. I mean, Toontown was free. I mean, that's as good as it gets, but $1.69 is not bad. So the game did have multiplayer, but I think it's dead now because I tried queuing to play multiplayer and it sat for about 3 minutes and it found nothing. And then it put me in a lobby by myself and said looking for players. And then like that timed out and it put me back like to the quick search menu. So I looked on Steam charts and there's only 44 people playing remastered and 21 people playing the original. So maybe the online works, but I don't think anyone's queuing for it. But the original did have traditional modes like Team Deathmatch and Capture the Flag, but it did have destruction-based modes like Siege, where you and an enemy team are trying to destroy each other's bases quicker. That sounds like it would have been a lot of fun. Yeah. We'll have to try maybe like on a Saturday afternoon. Maybe some people log in then. But I am a little bit bummed that multiplayer seems to not be available.
I wish this game had co-op. That's the one thing where, like, me driving, you guys gunning, you know, kind of thing I could see being a lot of fun. Yeah, it does mention it's a single-player game, but it has online PvP according to Steam. So it's definitely not intended to be, like, a multiplayer game.
Yeah, the campaign's definitely just single-player, but does seem to be a lot of fun. All right. So who do you guys think who do you think's going to end up having to play it? And does it matter at this point? It sounds like you're both in.
This is a really crazy thing to say, but it's like, I don't mind if it's me on this one. I don't know. Let's see. Like Ryan, this kind of fits Ryan and I's MO, like for what people know about us for gaming. Like people know I like chaos. I like explosions, third person shooter, vehicles. Ryan likes all that stuff too. So would Jigglepuff lean one way or the other? I don't think so. I'm really kind of torn. I don't know. I'm at a loss as to who Jigglepuff would pick for this one.
Now, I know you'd mentioned previously about like the achievements and stuff. I'm trying to think of what in here would factor into that. Did you have anything that you discovered when you played?
I looked at the list of achievements and they weren't quite as fun as I was hoping. I always love stuff like in Cyberpunk. They always had things like shoot a grenade out of the air and fun achievements like that. For this game, it's mostly about like liberating entire areas and doing a certain amount of damage and stuff like that. I think it's mostly just destroying as much as you can is kind of what all the achievements come down to. All right, so Jiggle said it was a toss-up between you both. Thought both of you would enjoy the game. But they said based on the tags, which are open world, physics, third-person shooter, explosions, gunplay, and driving, that Jiggle thought Ryan would get a bigger kick out of it.
Back to back. The people love me, dude. Don't do that, Josh. They want me, man. What can I say?
It was me back to back, and now you back to back, Ryan. Josh, it's been a minute for you.
It's because you know why? Because I hate some games. I'm not scared to say I hate this game. So I think people are a little bit more like, I don't want Josh to hate on my game, man.
Plus, Ryan rates everything 5.0 or higher.
I was going to say, you're guaranteed to get at least a 5 with Ryan.
Hey, you got explosions and vehicles. You're talking my language. That's all I know.
Yeah. So I'll leave you guys with one last thing. So Jiggle told me when you get to the point that you're kind of feeling done, like if you're not going to finish the game, and it is pretty short. I think it's said on how long to beat. It's like 15 hours. But Jiggle said, just start using cheats. So you can input cheat codes and it'll give you like a way overpowered like sledgehammer, and you can like send stuff flying and create all kinds of mayhem. And I gotta say, I kind of miss cheats being in games. Like, I know we have mods nowadays, but don't you miss the good old days of just inputting codes on the controller and then you get like all your GTA weapons or whatever? I miss it.
L1, L2, R1, R2, left down, right
Contra,
up,
when you
right.
had the 30 lives versus the 3, because it was the only way you were ever going to beat Contra back in the day.
You
know? So it's like I liked that developers would say, hey, let's let people have fun. Let's just build this into the game. And are they actually built into this?
Yeah, so there's like cheats that you can look up and put in the game. Yeah, which is kind of fun.
I mean, not that I'll ever know, but sounds cool.
Bull crap, you're playing with me. We're gonna be the two people online playing each other. 1v1 me, bro.
Oh man.
Let's go.
It would be really cool if we get to play a little bit of multiplayer. I'm hoping we can do it like that siege mode, trying to destroy buildings quicker. So like very quickly trying to assess like where are the central beams and chucking these mines and blowing them all up. I think this is going to be one that you guys like. At least I hope so.
I'll Zerg rush you.
Yeah. All right. Well, that wraps up everything here for this pre-dive. We want to give a huge thank you once again to Jigglepuff for going legendary. To all of our listeners out there, come back in about 2 weeks or so, and then that's when you'll be able to hear our full thoughts doing our official deep dive. You'll be able to hear Ryan's thoughts for sure. Sounds like probably a little bit from me and Josh as well. And then please check out support options for Patreon at multiplayersquad.com and make sure to rate us 5 stars and follow us on socials at VideoGamersPod. Thank you so much for listening to this pre-dive, and until next time, happy gaming.
See ya.
All right. See you, everybody.